Hello and welcome to Bread of Life, a daily devotional program which each week features a different area pastor. Our speaker for this week is Pastor Todd Williams of Bristol.
Getting a picture. What does God want to do? What's his plan for our community? You know, my grandfather, 55 plus years ago, met with several of his friends, and they said, you know what Connecticut needs? They got this picture. Connecticut needs a Christian radio station. At the time, there was no radio station. And as his friends talked it over, and then they realized faith is spelled R-I-S-K, risk. It always takes a risk. It always takes this effort, but acting in harmony with the picture God gives us. So they had this picture from God, and then they took a risk. They worked hard. They acted in harmony with it. And a little over 50 years ago, they started WIHS, the radio station you're listening to right now. Now, I remember when I was a kid, I was swimming in a pool. And for the first time in my life, there was a diving board. I'd never seen a diving board. I grew up swimming on a lake, and here I was in the pool. And I was about 5, 6 years old. My older brother, and my dad were jumping off that diving board, having a blast. They were having so much fun. And I was very interested. It looked so great. I got out of the pool. I walked over to the diving board side. I stepped out onto the board, and I walked all the way up to the edge, wanting to jump, wanting to have that fun. And my knees, they started to shake. They were shaking and shaking. I mean, everybody could see it. And I was embarrassed, but I was afraid. I was so afraid. I could not get myself to jump. My dad encouraged me. My brother encouraged me. My dad even jumped into the pool and held out his arms and said, "Jump, I'll catch you." But I was too afraid. I walked off that diving board with my head held down. I went back to the shallow end. I got in, I was playing. But they kept jumping, having a great time, inviting me to try it. Finally, one time I stepped out on the edge. My dad was in the pool, and I don't know if I jumped on my own or if my brother pushed me. But all of a sudden, I was in the air, flying. I landed in the water. My dad held me up, put me to the side, but then I wanted to do it again. I went to back over to the diving board. I jumped off again, and my dad caught me. I swam to the ladder, climbed up, and then I was running around and around yelling, "Again, Daddy, again, Daddy, again, Daddy." And I was having the time of my life. You know, so many times in our lives, the things that would make us most fulfilled, most satisfied, bring us the greatest pleasure, are the things that our fear is keeping us from. You know, everything you want in life is on the other side of your fear. Everything you want, and it requires faith. In Luke, Jairus had a daughter who was dying, and he goes to see Jesus. And Jesus gets delayed, and while he's delayed, messengers come to Jairus and say, "Don't bother Jesus anymore. Your daughter is dead." And you know, so many lies in that message, right? I mean, they weren't trying to be deceitful, but so many lies. And Jairus could have lost his faith. And in that moment, Jesus turned to him and said, "Fear not, only believe. Only believe." You know, everything we want is on the other side of our fear. Our biggest joys come when in faith we step forward to do the impossible thing. So my question is, what impossible thing are you doing right now that requires faith, that requires you to believe in a great God to do great things? God wants to do it. He wants to use me. He wants to use you. This is Pastor Todd Williams. I'm the pastor of Bridge Community Church in Bristol.
You've been listening to Pastor Todd Williams of Bristol, and this has been Bread of Life, a program to encourage you from God's Word.